A police officer named Igor appears who is on the hunt for a few robbers, and he used to live by his own set of rules. He was now running after the robbers' vehicle. Finally, he apprehends the criminals. During this time, havoc breaks out throughout the city. The action shifts to the police station, where a new officer is seen, who had recently joined the police force and could draw perfectly. When a police officer told the new officer to tour the entire police station, the colonel showed up and summoned Igor to his office while being furious. All the police officers in the police station were betting that when Igor goes to the colonel's office, the colonel will terminate Igor now. The colonel asks him to write the resignation letter while scolding him. Despite not accepting it, he holds onto his letter of resignation. Igor's rules are wrong, and the colonel is aware of it, but his presence has caused the city's crime rate to drop. He hands over the bet money to the poor old man. Igor gets a case of an aristocratic boy, and it has been said about him that he has killed one girl after hitting her with his car. He seizes him without any proof and presents him in court. That dead girl's brother also gives his statement in court. Because of his aristocracy and position as the richest boy, he is safe. The court had released that boy, and the brother of that dead girl was getting aggressive. Igor stops him as he is about to kill the man. He also says, "Look, don't take the wrong step until I investigate this case." The orphanage teacher comes to Igor when that dead girl's brother has gone. Igor gives her his phone number so she can call him if she needs to. Later, Sergey, a tech billionaire and creator of that social network, makes an appearance. Sergey and his friend had been brought up in that orphanage. When Sergey learns about that girl, he is devastated because he had been working so hard for the orphanage's children. He was telling his friend that he is powerless to do anything until there is an aristocratic class in this world. His friend supports him in doing this. He continues, "I am always with you as I was. And you will resolve this matter as before. So, my friend, you don't need to worry." On the other hand, Igor visits the colonel's house. He received a call there, which was by that orphanage teacher, who was speaking about the brother of the deceased girl, who had vanished from the orphanage. Next, the focus shifts to the aristocratic boy who had killed the girl by running her over with his car. A masked man in a superhero costume was hitting that boy bitterly there. That man explodes that boy's car when he gets into his car to save himself. Igor had also reached there after receiving the call from the orphanage teacher. He saw everything, but he could not stop that masked man. And that masked man escapes from there while dodging Igor there. Now all suspect that the dead girl's brother and police officers also sees him. When Igor was about to leave to look into this case, the inspector, who is skilled in sketching, handed Igor a drawing of the man in the mask. He was certain that the girl's brother had not murdered the noble boy. He says to him, "If you know anything about that killer, then tell me." Now Igor is involved in the interrogation of that killer. He conducted excellent research, but, amazingly, he was unable to find any evidence of the murderer. Finally, he is disturbed and moves to his house, holding that case's file. He notices how some boys were making fun of a girl. He beats those two boys bitterly and takes the girl into his house, safeguarding her. That girl asks for a cup of tea after visiting his house. When Igor goes to get a cup of tea, she takes a lot of pictures and opens the file of the masked man. The fact that those two boys were a part of her game is revealed as the girl walks away. Sergey discovers that the masked man is his friend, who was telling him not to worry at this moment. "I am with you." That masked man had made this mask and suit, taking advantage of Sergey and his money. Sergey's friend had the idea that he wanted to get rid of all of the richest people in the world who engage in corrupt and illegal activity. Sergey was admonishing his friend, "You are doing wrong. No one can get justice as such." However, his friend was not prepared to agree to anything. He was using the opposite statement. "The game has started now. Wait and watch what happens next." Now Sergey's friend sends his video to people's mobile phones using his app. He was telling all people that he is a plague doctor and he will ensure justice for all people. And he began this after killing the wealthiest boy. Later, that masked man plague doctor is shown in the house of a lady. This lady was a banker who had taken the money of the people by fraud. This plague doctor sets an explosive in the neck of that lady, and he explodes her whole apartment with her. This plague doctor becomes too renowned later, and the poor Strata had started to think of him as their savior. This case was becoming so complicated and Igor was understanding nothing. Now, this case is taken back from Igor and he is replaced with a new officer. In this matter, the colonel also makes no moves. But because he was Igor, he initiated the investigation with a single inspector's assistance. He goes to a black market where people were willing to say or do anything for money. Igor gets a list from one of his spies. A list of possible sources for information on the plague doctor. According to the names on the list, Igor visits each man. He beats and torments them, but he doesn't learn anything about the plague doctor. He asks his accompanied inspector to move back to the police station. He moves to Sergey and meets him. Sergey tells him that he has deleted that video from his app. However, that video had been copied a lot. Igor asks Sergey for assistance and tells him to track that man's phone using your app. But Sergey says it cannot be carried out through that app. We will remain unable to reach that man. Igor had also disappointed from there. When he arrives at the police station, his partner inspector shows him a video of a journalist. The video of the plague doctor was recently uploaded. This girl was the same one who had stolen the details about the plague doctor from Igor's house. He was losing his temper, watching this. He warns her, look. Never commit such a blunder again. My job may be lost because of your actions. But that girl Yulia starts laughing, and not a single Igor's word affects her. Igor was enraged and he puts her laptop in the water. The plague doctor was doing his job there. He burns one more wealthiest family. Social media was stuffed with plague doctor news. Aristocratic people panicked while poor people were speaking in his favor. Sergei tries to stop his friend again while forbidding him. He also threatens the police, but his friend responds, the police will arrest you along with me if you go to the police station. Despite this, you kept quiet, so you are equally responsible. Igor's friend comes to him and tells him, the next target of the plague doctor will be the casino, where the aristocratic class will congregate. He takes his friend's words seriously. He takes money from his friend, and he goes to the casino disguised as an aristocratic man. The same girl Yulia had also come there. They both begin to wait for the plague doctor there. But it occurs there because the plague doctor does not travel there and all the underprivileged people are attacked there. And chaos is created in the casino. Sergei had also come to the casino. Even though he was urging everyone not to, nobody listened. He starts fighting with all of them. Yulia was recording everything there. The same inspector who had been replaced by Igor had entered the casino. Yulia, who had recorded everything there, now asks Igor to comment on all of these events. He misbehaves with her there and also damages her mobile phone. He now places the entire amount of the wager on the inspector's desk, whom he used to call his friend, so he may feel a little embarrassed. Conversely, the colonel advises him, you will have to make your friends if you want them in your life. You need friends, so you may trust them. Igor agrees with the colonel. He went to Yulia and asked for an apology from her, holding the new cell phone. He goes to that orphanage teacher the next day so he may investigate the brother of that dead girl. He enters his room because he believes the boy may be somehow connected to this case. He glances at a bulletin board while moving into the boy's room and notices some pictures of Sergei there. The orphanage teacher also shows him his drawing book. She tells him that Sergei's best friend had joined the army, where he had also died. Moreover, he also discovers some sketches of a plague doctor in that drawing book. Igor had become certain after his investigation that Sergei was responsible for this. He visits him to make sure. He replies, after hearing this, that his friend is responsible for all these matters. Then his friend also arrives there. At this time, Sergei's friend was only becoming visible to him. He shows him his file, saying, your friend died last year. You cannot befool me. Sergei was still looking at his friend. He was also feeling very scared. When Igor looks back after turning, Sergei takes the benefit of this and makes him unconscious while hitting something on his head. Here, it is well known that Sergei's friend has passed away. And the plague doctor is none other than Sergei himself. He had become an orphan after the death of his parents. With all the maladies he had to endure, he had started to suffer from a split personality disorder. He makes the false claim that his friend is responsible for all wrongdoing. He placed all the blame on his friend and presented himself as a moral and gentlemanly person. Now Igor had known about Sergei, so his real personality had appeared before him. Sergei forces Igor to don the plague doctor's costume and mask following his plan. He makes him unconscious and he attacks the owner of the casino. The police had approached there when Igor restored his senses. Igor has been captured now. He tells the police officer there, I am not a plague doctor, but Sergei. Sergei had hidden many of his proofs in Igor's house. Additionally, the police find a lot of evidence in his home. They believe then that Igor was a plague doctor. Yulia comes to Igor as a lawyer so she may support him. She is once again humiliated by Igor, who also frees her. Igor's friend, who was an inspector, was feeling ill for this. He explains to everyone that Igor is guiltless, but nobody had any faith in him. Now he helps Igor get released from prison. Yulia was already there in her car. She takes both of them from here. Igor tells both of them that the plague doctor is Sergei and forbids them to help him more and goes to him. Sergei was in the costume of a plague doctor. He says, do anything but you cannot stop me. A great fight is held between them. Igor throws his device far which releases fire. Then he releases a video that goes viral showing him detonating a police station. And then he instructs the rest of the people to come on the road. I need help. Igor was astonished by this action. Sergei throws a device, and this place also explodes. Contrarily, people begin to create havoc in the city as they are trapped by the words of the plague doctor. Igor and Sergei start fighting. Then Yulia and her friend and the inspector approached him there to help him. But he also forbids them at this time and asks them to secure their lives. He had gripped Sergei after a long fight. Army officers were also approached in the city and the circumstances had recovered. Sergei had confessed that he was a plague doctor. The police appeared there when all three were carrying him to the police. They arrest Sergei. Igor was so excited to see the colonel alive. When a new police officer begins to say something, the colonel punches him. It was broadcast on the news that the plague doctor was wicked. No one may take any wrongdoing now. Igor is shown, who was in a quiet place with his friend Yulia and the inspector. Sergei is shown in the psychiatric hospital where his evil side was saying to him that we would meet again. In the next scene, his friend, who died in the army, was also alive. He was watching the video of Sergei, sitting in his camp. The film ends here. Thanks for watching. And don't forget to watch another movie recap displayed on the screen.